Welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast with me, Michael Tinkser. We at Hospitality Mavericks are here to inspire leaders in the hospitality and restaurant industry to create heart-centered and profitable businesses from the inside out, the kind that both employees and customers love and support. In today's podcast, we're joined by the great Mark Pitcher, Sparklighter, Purpose Finder, Firewalker instructor, speaker, coach, and the founder of Smash the Box. Mark is all about helping you finding your inner purpose, find that spark inside you, and helping you to smash your box. If you have not seen some of the great content Mark share on social media, start following him today. I sat down with Mark to talk about leadership, humanity, the power of giving back, and how you can transform people's life through coaching. Be Maverick and tune in. Welcome to the Hospitality Maverick podcast, Mark. It's given me a great pleasure to have you down here in Brighton. We are sitting in a very beautiful spot looking over the city. You can see the sea right now and the sun is out. It's really hot outside and I'm looking forward to show you a bit of town before you have to head up to London again.
Yeah, thank you. Amazing to be here and great to sit and see the sea. Yeah.
So this is our third date. We had our second date a couple of weeks ago where I was a guest on your
third date. Yeah. We're sharing starters. Yeah.
We're maybe going to have a meal today. I was in your podcast, which I'm really looking forward because when I went out there, I thought, wow, we talked about a lot of things. So there's a lot of energy going on there. We smashed the box.
We smashed the box, yeah. We definitely did, yeah. September out, yeah.
September. Okay, good. Yeah. For people that don't know who Mark Pitcher is, can you just give you a bit of a background if this is the first time they're ever listening into you?
I'm a spark lighter.
Yeah?
I like to light a spark in people. I think that permeates everything I do. It's essentially my purpose, really, is to light a spark in people so they can make their mark on the world, perform at their natural best. I'll give you a very brief perhaps background. Some of people might have heard my story before. After a few years backpacking around the globe, I sort of came back to the UK and settled into a career in sales, effectively, in hospitality, technology. Like a lot of people fell into it. It was a complete accident. I didn't grow up in a restaurant. I had a few bar jobs in the past, and, had some success with it. And that sort of period of time, which spanned in the end some 23 plus years, the latter part of that was spent with an amazing business which is still going called Forth. There were literally 5 of us at the beginning, 2 amazing investors in Derek and Edwina Lilly, and off we went, 5 guys out to conquer the world. And it was like all small companies, it was a bumpy ride at the beginning, and we nearly didn't make it a few times, but that business grew, continues today. When I stepped out, which is over 2 years ago now, sort of 500 plus people, and it's a great business. At that time, I was sort of chasing a dream, like a lot of people. I was chasing a dream of making it in a very classic Western capitalist way, the house on the beach, the car in the drive, the family holidays and all that good stuff, and achieved a lot of it. But my story changed dramatically. Woke up on the 6th of July 2016 to the news that my eldest son Charlie, I've got 4 children, my eldest son Charlie had taken his own life. Don't really have to sort of tell you well, it was a complete shock, and life completely stopped, and everything went a bit dark for a while. But I made 2 very early decisions, and one was that I wasn't going to become a victim of it. I was going to react to it. I was going to find something positive in this, which was hard at the beginning, and I was going to create something amazing to sort of create a legacy for him. His life was very short. He was 18, and Charlie was always a very generous kid. Like a lot of teenagers, he wasn't perfect. One of his overriding quality was his generosity. He passed his driving test quite early and would pick his mates up from the station late, lend them 30 quid, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, how can I capture the spirit of that and use it? And around this time, shortly before I lost Charlie, I discovered coaching. I'd always kind of been a people person at heart. I was a very unorthodox salesperson. I was always fascinated by what drove people. And I almost did a psychology degree at Birkbeck and was looking into all sorts of different things. But I saw this coaching thing pop up on my LinkedIn, life, become a life coach, transform people's life, find purpose, find meaning. And I was like, oh, it's a thing. It's a thing, and it ticked a box for me. So off I went and started this journey, and that's all I had really. I came out of where I was. I went back briefly. I have an incredible former CEO, a guy called Ben Hood, who was amazing to me at the time, and just said, look, take the time out, take as much time as you need, and I did. But I kind of knew in my heart that my purpose had changed, and it was a different dream, and I needed to create this thing, and I quit it all, and here I am, Smash the Box, doing it. Coaching, workshops, speaking.
First of all, Thanks for sharing that story. This is not the first time I hear it, and every time it makes me, when you have family, you understand that things like that, it's a hard thing, but you can never understand how it is to lose your own child. That's something you don't wish for anyone to happen. And I think it's a very powerful setup for what we're going to talk about now, because what you're all about is, how you reinvigorate purpose with your clients. Can you tell a little bit about what is it that you do with your clients, and how do they actually find that, discovering this new route, which I don't think was just a clear plan you had from day one, where you actually developed that on the journey, as you told me before?
When something like that happens to you, which I wouldn't wish it on anybody, you go through, or I went through, this massive period of, it was almost like taking inventory of myself, identity. Who am I? What's the point? What is all this about? And it's a great, might sound a strange way to say it, but exercise in self-awareness. So I became very self-aware, knew what my strengths were, knew what my weaknesses are. And for me, purpose is the cornerstone, of everything. It's the North Star. Some people don't like the word, and these, there's different ways to say it, isn't there? Find your why, find your purpose, your meaning, your why you here. But for me, it is a North Star. I think if you don't find purpose, and not everybody does or wants to, you will go through life, and it's a bit like getting in a car and just driving, for me, or getting in a ship and just sailing. You'll have some amazing experiences along the way and some random encounters, and life will, doesn't mean life can't be enjoyable, but at some point, and I think probably happens to everybody, you're going to say, hey, where is all this going? What's this all about? So I became very, very fixated on how do you help people with that? So I found mine, and I got a bit of help with it, and in terms of being able to articulate it, and I thought, right, I want everybody to have that opportunity. So that's what I do now. One of my sort of flagship workshop is around how to find your purpose and be able to articulate it in a set of words, and but coming from within. And when you find it, and I've seen it, it's an amazing moment. I go through this series of exercises with people, coach them through. It's like panning the rivers of your past to come up with these nuggets, because there will be themes there.
Yeah, there'll be times where you were really accelerated, because I did a similar thing, not with you, but with Simon Sinek's Why course, and it was an online thing, but I was very dedicated to it, because I also had a period of being in the wilderness, and it's crazy when you start to look back when you've been successful, how you sometimes deny those moments and don't repeat them, because you think you need to go with the masses, as you said, the car, the boat.
Yeah, by the way, Simon Sinek, I'm a massive fan, and he's one of my big inspirations in all this. Absolutely right. I think some people don't want to think about it, but I think it is really important. I've seen what it can do for people. What I find interesting is that when you encounter someone for the first time, you meet someone for the first time, and they'll say, you'll get past your name. What's your name? My name is. And the next question invariably is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Which I think is the most boring question on the planet, because actually what you do between the hours of 8 and 6 or 9 and 5 does not define you in my book. I much prefer what you're passionate about, which throws some people, and some people will say, oh, what do you mean, in work or in life? And I'm like, whatever you want, both. But when you ask what people are passionate, it opens up this whole Pandora's box of conversation that for me is far more interesting, and you get an insight into what really makes that person tick, and you start getting clues as to what drives that person. And it might be that actually, yes, they're an accountant or a teacher or a lawyer, and I don't know why I just picked those three, but actually secretly they've always wanted to be a pilot or a dancer or, an artist, and it's never too late.
Never too late. You can make that decision in this moment.
Yeah,
as we talked about
100%.
Recently. Can you define the purpose a bit for people out there? Because for some people, purpose can be many things. So what is your definition of purpose?
My preferred definition very much comes from the Simon Sinek world. So I see purpose as two things, or as two parts to it. What's the contribution you want to make while you're here? And there's no religious context to this, by the way. But what do you want to contribute while you're here to your family, to your community, to your workplace, to the world even? And once you've established that, there'll be a verb there. There might be several things, but there'll be one standout thing, or there will be by the time you've been through my exercises. And then second part is, and what's the impact of that? So what's the impact of you doing that on other people around you? And the before and after. So before and after meeting Michael or Mark, what's the impact of that? And for me, when you put those two things together, that forms a very powerful statement and gives you a sense of purpose and meaning to your life. Yeah. Everything you then do becomes a vehicle for that. So the job you do, the volunteer work you do, the way you parent, the way who you are as a friend, become vehicles for that. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can only say to people who haven't, or maybe on the fence of trying out, working with your purpose, do it. It will give you a clarity and direction, and it'll be easy to say yes and no to things, which is often our biggest problem, is to say no in life, and we get involved in things we never should have been involved in because we don't take that decision from a purpose point of view.
100%. And it absolutely, it can help you what to say yes to say no to, help decisions, what next step to take in your career. I was talking about, changing earlier, talking about or maybe you want to be an artist, dancer, maybe you don't, maybe you're very happy in your chosen path or field, but you want to make a change, or what relationship you want to be in or find or leave, or, all it permeates so many things. Yeah.
So you do it through workshop with people. You do it in individual coaching we touched a bit on, and also now you have a podcast where you try to inspire people, I guess, and it's very wide range of people there. It's very interesting. You get insights into worlds that normally would, and you often take them on board, I guess, because they have an interesting purpose. They're living their purpose, I guess. Yeah,
that's pretty true. And as you've been on it, and that'll be out really soon. So I'm interested in stories. We've talked a lot about purpose, but everybody has a story. Everybody has a unique gift to bring to the world. I really believe that. I just do. I'm interested in people's stories. I'm particularly interested in, and maybe this is unconscious in me based on what happened in my life, people who've overcome adversity or they've pushed through. I always say, if you can find another human being that's been through what you've been through or similar and is doing something really positive with it, then you can too. So I'm always interested to find people with inspiring stories and share them. And often you find there is a strong purpose in there. And in my business that's kind of very centric around me, me speaking, me coaching, me delivering. The podcast is a lovely way to share other people's stories, and it's a way of putting value out into the universe in a way that help. And I guess there's two sides to it. One is, it just feels good to do it. I've always had a slight journalistic leaning. I did have this idea of writing a book about people many years ago, I guess I'm kind of doing it now through the podcast. I just have a natural curiosity for people. So selfishly, I do get to indulge that. Yeah. I would do the podcast anyway, even if I didn't have the business. Podcasts are very of the moment, and I listen to a lot of audio. And it's just great to share people's stories. And then you get wonderful moments there. That it's a little time capsule. And I love that moment when people hear themselves back and say, wow, is that really me? And and the fact that
that's some of the best things about doing podcasts.
As you
you made me sound so cool. I thought, no, you did that yourself.
You did that yourself. Yeah, exactly. And it's and actually there is a play into coaching, I guess, which is, for me, being a coach, one of the biggest things about being a coach is about asking great questions, know. And I show people how to ask questions of themselves. I try and bring that to the podcast as well, by asking the right questions so you get the essence of the person.
Doing these things, it sounds like it makes you feel good when we talk about it, but does it really matter? You can ask if you came in we're really, put in front of the decision maker in a business. We do this because we'll have to do that because that's great for a business to talk a bit about purpose, get the employees involved. It doesn't actually give any business results. If you have to be a bit or you're just running around doing this because you like to do it. Do you really change the world with this?
I believe you can change the world, and I always say, we're changing the world one person at a time, I talk about, and the ripple effect, and start small, dream big and start small. And I really believe that, and I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. There's different schools of thought, aren't there? And I think with business, and you might see this every now and again, you kind of just meet and I wish there were more of them, but you just meet people who really care. They really do live it. And you can smell it, you can see it straight off, and they really, really are purpose and values driven. Others less so. Sometimes it depends on where the stage the business is at, which will affect people's thinking. And I'm not here to judge any of it.
That's very interesting, like that as well. I actually, in a way, disagree slightly on that because it's a conscious choice to make. Because we just talked about taking that moment of choice. And you're seeing companies like Patagonia. They're staying true, and there's companies out there. But it's a tough choice, you said, because you can be in different stages where you can be indulged with money.
Yeah, I just think any business has to ask itself, what are you in this for? And for how long? I take a long-term view. I will always do this. I know that in my business. And so I need to be able to look back on every decision I make and every video I put out and go, I'm happy to put my name to that. In 10 years, look back and go, I'm glad I did that. I still stand by that. Maybe my view of certain things would have changed. I don't know. But, and not, I did that to get a quick buck. And I think people increasingly, we're in an era now where there's lots of talk about millennials and Generation Z and what do they want and how do we manage them. One thing that I do see is companies are needing to become a lot more values driven. Whether you do that for genuine reasons or whether you do that because actually you want the business to be financially successful, but increasingly younger generation are looking for that and they can smell authenticity. Either you do it from the get-go or you do it properly. You're not afraid to rip up the rule book now and again and go, right, actually we are going to look at our purpose, or we're going to reevaluate it and really show people that you're doing that. Yeah.
And this is like a muscle. You need to maybe, I've seen many organizations also we work with where they started out with a very clear purpose and identity, and we had Nisha on the podcast. That's not an example of one we work with, but you could just feel she was so clear about the direction, and she said it was Mowgli that took her on the journey. It was not the other way around. She was a servant of Mowgli, which is quite interesting way of viewing it.
Yeah.
But we see so many in the other direction where they had a really strong purpose when they start out, and then as the business evolved, suddenly they started chipping away at that. Forgot to revisit it and say the purpose has to be reinvented in a different way.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you need to reinvent your identity.
Yeah,
as a human being when you go through different growth stages in life, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that. I mean, look at music. Look at how many times Madonna reinvented herself. Now, I don't know whether she sat down and reevaluated her purpose in life. To be successful, it's being able to move and reinvent, and it's important, I think,
So it gives sense, you say, for business to work on that, because I think one thing you said, and you said that when we met up here a bit earlier as well, that if you don't do that, where would you be in 10 years' time? Which is a great question to be, if you don't start looking into this and actually start accepting that. And I don't think it's the millennial thing. I think that maybe the generation earlier, including myself, we're just a bit more accepting of not taking this for granted. It was a bit more methodistic, where actually even these generations now starting to see that model doesn't work. I've maybe been, blindfolded a bit, and I actually need to go back to why I actually started out in my early 20s to try to pursue things in life, where you really want. Often there's a lot of people who want to change the world. I see that within my own friends as well. A lot of people in their 20s want to change the world, and they hit 40, they just forget, it's just that's how it is. I'm just going to take care of my job. And then you can just say they willed, I would say to them. I almost get frustrated with them. No, you have so many years left. You not only have 20 years left in the employment market or in the world, you have maybe 40 years where you can actually make a difference with all the experience you have now.
100%. Look, I'm 51. I reinvented myself at 48, and for me, in my head, I'm halfway through. I'm here for a long time, and modern medicine is changing. People are living longer. Maybe 30, 40 years ago, 51 is like, hey, you're home straight, pipe and slippers, but not now. I think it's a really interesting point you make. So there's that. I think the internet provides a fantastic vehicle for people to be able to, if it's a business you want to start, to be able to do that, where they could before. Look, we're doing this podcast and we're trying to reach a lot of people, which without having to go to gatekeepers, as it were. But there's also, I don't talk about it enough. I always try and actually talk about something new on an interview that I haven't talked about before. And I've got this thing at the moment about money, and I'm not here to judge it, and I believe in money and I believe in creating wealth. I think you can do amazing things with it if you have the right purpose, back to our point.
Intention.
But for me, money is not wealth. Money is a symbol of wealth, and it's just one symbol of wealth. And that's great if you want to do that. And some people are like, I just want to earn a ton of money, then I'll give back and contribute. And that I respect that. But there are other symbols of wealth, and there are other ways to feel good. And by feel good, I mean feel fulfilled. And I think that there's also a lot of talk at the moment about happiness, which is not helpful. It's very oversimplified. I think this idea like being happy. And again, back to Simon Sinek, I agree with him that happiness is an outcome. It's an outcome. It's a result. Like profit is a result. But if you invest with the right value and the right purpose, you get, and in people, which is, I know, central to this podcast and your business, you will get the profits. And, assuming that the product is good enough and the talent is there, of course, but there's all those things are important. And happiness is an outcome. So I think, not every day is a good day. I am deeply fulfilled in the work that I do, found my purpose, but if you steal my wallet or my phone or if my wife left me, I would be unhappy. Life still gets in the way. So I'm a very realistic optimist. I'm positivity all the way, but with a touch of realism. And I think that if you can find fulfillment, it'll get you through the tough days. So one of my aims is to create more happy days how can we create more moments like that in your life, more happy days, more happy moments, and let's string a few of those together. So
I just sitting and listening to you here, and I think many people also you need to accept there's not happiness all the time, and also the bad times actually help you accelerate. So it's a bit like the you thing. I don't know if you heard about that psychology they did on the you thing. They saw people's performance. So when they started something new, they were really alert and really performing well in the beginning, and then when the task came to the middle, they lost a bit of momentum. And then if they had triggers to make them feel like, so they were either, you could say it was a deadline to an exam, so they knew there was 3 days to the exam. They would say, okay, we only have 3 days now, we need to regroup, we need to finish this paper. Then they find means and resources to get it done, even though it looked mission impossible, and come back on a high performance level. And I think we as human beings, we're also there. So our most important thing is, I'm very fascinated about Tony Robbins, is about how do you keep high energy all the day? How do you actually keep yourself up at a higher standard all day? How do you know when you are slipping and you actually need to get back on your standards? And it's about energy, because that's what it's all about. And then how do you use music? How do you use your purpose? How do you use physical movement? How do you use doing things you like, and maybe not going to make you a millionaire, but it's definitely something you like to do.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Tony Robbins, who's someone that I, admire greatly and follow, not every day, but, I do take inspiration from him. Been to his event, walked over the hot coals and all that stuff, and it's amazing.
You're a firewalker as well,
yeah. More to come on that. Watch this space. Anyone that wants to do a firewalk. Yeah, I loved it so much.
It's accelerating.
Do my own.
I can't even remember. I can remember I lifted up a lady very high, and she got very scared because I was like pumped with energy, from that session. It's like you can't explain it, you just go and try it out.
It's incredible experience. I have this thing with fire a little bit, actually. I call what I do lighting a spark. That's what I do.
I've seen in your post there's a lot of fire going on.
A lot of fire going on. Energy. I'm obsessed with energy, and at 51, nearly took a few years off there. I know that I need a lot of it for what I do. Anything I can do to get more energy, whether it's through nutrition, through exercise, through the people I surround myself with, I'm in. And energy it's everything. And I think, and that doesn't mean you have to be jumping around the room on fire every minute, but different things work for different people. I'm not here to sort of preach. What works for me is mantras. So music, I like music, but I love mantras. Some people are like, it's a vision board, or it's something visual, or it might be music, and that can work for me sometimes. I just have a sort of a little collection of mantras that I use. So if I'm procrastinating, it's do it now, do it now, do it now. And I get this, I repeat my mantras to myself in my head to get them in, or what's feeling like got to do with it is one of my favorites. Because the reason that most people do things or don't do things is because they don't feel like it, which comes back to energy. Shall I go to the gym at the end of today or not? I don't feel like it, or do I feel like it? And when you let your feelings drive your actions, then you're always going to be at the mercy. It sounds obvious, but you're going to be at the mercy of your emotions. So actually, when you just tell yourself, look, it doesn't, just do it anyway. You don't feel like it, but do it anyway. For me, those days are the victories. Those are the victories, those moments where you think, I don't feel like it, but I did it anyway. And actually, that's a lot where confidence comes from. Through action. And if someone's saying he's lacking confidence, and again, no magic bullet, there's no one thing, but I will always talk to them about instilling habits and rituals that they consistently keep up, whether they feel like it or not, and they will build confidence over time.
What is your, beside mantras, do you have any other energy hacks or any rituals you do in the morning to set you up for the day?
Yeah, I'm very ritualistic. I didn't used to be in my old life, but I am these days. I'm big on exercise, so I do a boot camp on my local common. I live in Chiswick, West London. So 6:30 out there with a group of others being put through our paces. That's kind of my first introduction to the day. And then...
Is that every day or...?
Every weekday.
Every
weekday morning. I probably would do it every day actually, but family time. I do something called a centering breath, which is, I guess it's my form of meditation. I don't really meditate. I'm too much of a doer. I tried meditation, didn't really work for me. I respect the hell out of it. So I do this little centering breath where I do a series of inhale for 3 or 4 seconds, hold it, then let it out, and I repeat that 4 times. And I repeat my purpose every morning. So if anyone walking past a car park in West London, which is behind my flat, will see me in my gym gear repeating this mantra. And it's just what I do, and it just sets me up for the day. And I do practice a bit of gratitude at the same time. So I do it's all one exercise. I repeat my purpose to myself. I'm grateful for my loved ones, my family, and then I go off and do my day. Yeah.
Cool. Back to the industry. We both have a touch point, the restaurant and hospitality industry. Where do you see that industry is right now? We can take the filter of purpose and values-led businesses. Well, there's a lot that's gone on. Been hit by the perfect storm. A lot of people talked about cost, property, talent cliff, talent crisis, Brexit, economic has impacted this business and make it so hard. Where do you see the industry from the way you view the world?
Where do I see it going, or where do I see it right now?
Where do you see it right now, and as well also where do you see it in 5 years' time if we continue?
I guess I thought first I'll caveat my answer. I don't pretend for a second to be sort of an expert on the sector per se. I mean, I've never been an operator, although I've been in and around the sector for, as I say, almost 25 years now. So I know a lot of people in it, and I know people who care deeply for it. I'm a big believer that there's always cycles. Everything, what goes away will come back, and people love food and drink, and they like to eat out. I think London's the best city in the world and is fantastic for restaurants. I see it's having obviously a really tough time, particularly that sort of what we term in the sector as the casual dining sector. I don't know, this sort of era of chain restaurants, I think there's a question mark over that as to how, we've seen that, these companies running at hundreds and hundreds of sites. We've seen that fail. I'm not saying some people might say that model has failed. And again, back to this point about, I just think it's just why you're doing it. If you come back to why you're doing it, if the founder is still involved in the business and the DNA is there, then I think it's got every chance. Whether the business is struggling or not, you've got every chance, because if that founder can inspire and really communicate those values out and that purpose, you'll bring people with you around something. That said, some companies that's not always the case. They might be on their second or third CEO, and I've seen that work really well as well. There is, and this might be controversial, but for some brands, at what point do you say, hey, we had a good run? Like a band. Just like a band, So do you go on forever, like status quo? Are you a sort of Oasis? And well, actually, probably a bad example, isn't it? Are you? or do you just kind of put a lid on it and go,
Roses,
they're like the Beatles, and go, we had a good run, and there it is, and off we go, and it's forever there, and go on to something else. And I think all I know is, as a consumer, you can sense it within a matter of minutes, probably seconds actually, you walk in the door, and you can have the most amazing decor and amazing atmosphere and even the most amazing food, but if I don't get a smile, you're on the back foot straight away. A lot of companies might be under pressure to hire the right staff, and some of that people will say that's just intrinsic in people. How do you find those people? But a lot of it can be trained, and a lot of it can be taught. That's what I spend a lot of time doing. Emotional intelligence. Look, a lot of the stuff that makes a brand really successful doesn't cost much money, I think.
It costs a bit of time and persistence and willpower, of course.
Yeah.
And that's free. That's the last time I looked it up.
But just to wrap on that,
yeah.
I think I'm an optimist, and I believe that the sector, even though it's going through a tough time, will bounce back in whatever form that is. But I think it will bounce back. There are some fantastic people in this sector, and it'll come back.
And you're spot on. There will always be people that will be eating out.
Yeah.
As my mom always says, there's
Yeah.
two jobs always going to prevail. It's the undertaker, people going to be dying, and the restaurateur, they're going to be eating, and that's forgiven. So if you look a bit about the challenges, because one of the things that's coming up a lot right now, what I see as well, is the people challenge. And there's a lot of people that says to me, like, there's just no people, there's nothing to recruit, they don't want to work in the sector. And then I says, yes, that's true. What is the outcome of that? Why is that the situation we're in? And I think it's probably nothing to do with you, but it's accumulating that we don't have a talent crisis. We, in a way, it goes further back, and we just have to look in that mirror and accept it. And that's why we're here, Hospitality Maverick, as well. We need to accept we have a leadership crisis, because people don't leave businesses or industries, they leave leaders.
Yeah.
So even though you're doing well, we need to find out how do we take to the next level. And I think that's one of the big solutions, in my view, on how we solve some of the challenges within. And I think you are right. There's some maybe had their gig, and other needs to come in a way. And there's some interesting things happening. We had Nisha mentioned like an interesting kind of organism. I wouldn't even call it an organization. I wouldn't even call it a restaurant chain. It's like this movement going on in the north and outside London.
Okay.
And you can feel when you come in, you can feel that thing.
Yeah.
Like the first time I come in, you can just feel that thing. And it was the smile, it was the energy, it was the sound. You can just feel this is a special place.
Yeah.
And what's going on here? What are these guys up to? Because it's so different from what we've been for a long time. We're very profit driven, which there needs to be profit in business and money needs to come into the sector.
Of course.
But we forgot a bit, in my view, the care for our people and the care for our products and food and quality of that, and then our customers, because that's meant to what hospitality is about. And I think that's probably our biggest challenge as we go forward in the industry, to reinvigorate that, because then I think it maybe sounds a bit fluffy, but I'm thinking business will thrive when you find your own unique way of doing that. I'm not saying somebody is more right than others.
Right, yeah. I think I agree with you on the leadership crisis point. I think I talk about something that I call it the value exchange, because there's a lot of talk about how do we recruit the right talent, and you can have a career in hospitality where sometimes it's not always seen as a great career, perhaps by older generations, by parents, and I think it's a particular thing to the UK, because you go to France and Spain and Italy and it is. This value exchange, I think, again, it comes back to purpose. When you can understand what makes somebody tick and what their purpose is. So if I come to work for you, and let's say one thing I'm really passionate about is dance, let's say, or becoming a pilot, and you know that. So you know that that's my dream. This job, I'm being asked to wait tables or serve in a bar, and that's not my dream, but that's okay. That's okay. So there's this kind of acceptance that this isn't your dream job, but do you know what? We're going to invest in you. We're going to give you all the skills we possibly can, even possibly beyond, open doors for you, help you to nurture that passion, that thing you've got, that dream you have. And we'll do all of that. And the exchange is, but by the way, while you're here, will you please be nice to the customers, smile, give the best, and really represent our brand in the best way possible. And again, for me, that's real. So let's not kid ourselves that everyone was just born to work in a restaurant. And for me, what I've seen happen over the years is that some of those people will leave and pursue the dream, and they will always look back fondly, a great ambassador for that brand that they left, and say, do you know what, that was like my college years. Imagine looking back and going, those were the days. God, and they'll probably send people to your restaurant, or they'll go for the dream and it didn't work out, and they come back and they go, do you know, I kind of liked it there, I'm going to go back and do that, and they come back a different person. Or maybe they just stick around and go, do you know what, I thought I wanted to be a dancer, but maybe it's more of a hobby. I kind of like it. I never saw myself running 5 restaurants, but I kind of like it, and they might stay. You don't know. So it's getting real with people and really understanding them, and not just paying lip service to it.
I think we have a guest here. I'm just going to open the door and see. So we have a present.
We have a delivery.
Delivery for you.
For me?
Yeah. So we have
I reckon. Thank you very much.
So we have a little box here for you.
And that was me genuinely thinking.
Because last time I wanted to smash the box. I didn't have a box, so I thought this time I would be ready with a box.
Ready with a box.
And there's something inside it for you as well. So
I shouldn't smash it just yet. Okay. Ah, wow, the Alchemist.
So that's actually lead perfectly to the next questions about where you get your inspiration from. Because I didn't ever know if you ever read The Alchemist.
I've never read it.
No, okay, well, then you need to, because that's one of those, about purpose.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to touch a bit about books, and I thought this would be the perfect moment to do the bit of a coming in with the box. And you can take the box with you as well and use as part of a little feature in your podcast as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's in my colours as well, orange.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Smash the box colours.
And it's also in the Hospitality Maverick colours. That's the colour of positivity.
We have colours. We have orange in common. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good.
A fable about following your dream. Wow, it's my kind of book.
Yeah, good. But we're not done yet, so hang on a bit. Coming to books, do you have any star books people have to read? So this was, as you can imagine, one of ours and mine. I think everybody should read, and it's not a business book. It's about journey of life.
Yeah. Thank you again. It's really kind of you. And so books, yes. Obvious one, Simon Sinek, Start With Why, just because of the impact it had on me 10 years ago. Yeah. One of the few books I finished the book and then went straight back and reread it immediately with my highlighter pen, and just, and still dip in and out of it now. I still think it stands the test of time. There's a great book called Tuesdays with Morrie, which is not a business book. It's not a personal development book. So it's based on a true story, and it's written by a guy called Mitch Albom, Albom. Only a short book, and I highly, highly recommend it to anyone's heading for the beach or likes a bit of summer reading. And it's just a wonderful, without spoiling it, a wonderful story of a guy. He's a sports journalist, and he reaches a point in his life where he starts to he hits a bit of a midlife crisis, I guess you can say. And he starts thinking back and reflecting, and he decides to look up his old university lecturer, who was a bit of a mentor figure to him back in the day, finds him, tracks him down. And this guy is right at the end of his life and his health is failing. And he goes and spends Tuesdays with him, hence the title of the book, Tuesdays with Maury. And it's all about life lessons, so for someone who's literally about to leave the planet and passing on wisdom. And it's just it's a very emotional book, but it's very, in a good way, it's very heartwarming. So that's probably one of my all-time favourites. He's written other books as well. He's written another book called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, which is fiction, actually, I believe.
It's all about who you want to become.
Cool, that's the title. Yeah, and I guess if I can have a third, it would be Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful
Viktor
book.
Frankl.
Tough about concentration camps and survival.
Yeah, and that exactly right. And that might sound a very heavy topic, but just well, he called it logotherapy, but the psychology there involved in how to survive something like that and how he did where others couldn't. It's just an incredible book. And this whole idea that, doesn't matter what you do to me, but you can't take my mind. And again, is a massive, one of the things that permeates my work and my life is I always say to people, going back to the start of the podcast, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you react to it. And for me, that book just epitomises that. So those are my top 3 probably.
Yeah. It's very good. So The Alchemist would support that very well, because that's about, you set out on a journey and you think that you want to have wealth. I think that's what he sets out to do.
Right.
And he finds out it's so much more. Wealth is so much more than just money.
Yeah.
But you can, every time you read this book, I've read it 5 times, and every time you get a new perspective on things.
Wow.
And it really depends on where you're in your life. I read it when I was 22 the first time. I'm 40.
And you're still reading?
And I'm trying to read it every year I'm going on summer holiday. Of course, you can read it faster and faster, but it still, gives you an insight into life. So I thought you would enjoy that. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm definitely going to read it.
Yeah.
And I might even feature it. I do a daily video broadcast through Facebook, as you know, and I feature books. Yeah. I feature and I sort of reinterpret the wisdom, and maybe I can feature this one. So.
Oh yeah, I think you will definitely get something out of that. Everyone I've been either giving that book or met that's read that book, they get something different out of it.
Right. Okay.
Well, maybe there's a podcast in.
Yeah.
To do that. Your heroes in life, we touched a bit about some of them. Simon Sinek, we touched a bit on Tony Robbins and some of the authors of the books you just mentioned. Is there any others? When you're on your own, you need to get that inspiration from somewhere.
I see inspiration in the everyday. I mean, it might sound an obvious answer, but my family, my wife, my children inspire me every day. I'm blessed with a very loving and supportive family, support what I do. I see inspiration, I see it in the special needs teaching assistant at my son's school who was born deaf and has dedicated her life to helping kids with special needs. I see that, and probably I get more from that than I do perhaps more obvious famous people. That's not to say they don't inspire me. I mean, so I am easily inspired by all the guests I've had on the podcast, yourself included. Anybody that is prepared to sort of step out and put themselves out there, whether it doesn't have to be for a business, and nail their colours to something to serve the world. It gets my respect and inspires me. I'm a big fan of, we've mentioned Simon Sinek. I've never met him. I'm very inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, he's also setting a different agenda on many things. He's definitely shaking up things and asking some brutal questions as well, not only in social media connection, but in general how we run businesses. And
100%. And there's a massive play into a lot of things you're talking about purpose behind a business and what you're in it for. And I've been following his content for a lot of years, and it's hard to come up and be new and keep creating and have people follow you in that way is not easy. And so he's one, definitely. I had the pleasure of meeting him last year when he came to London. Thanks to Mark McCulloch for the ticket. He's the real deal for me. I have mentors. A guy called Andy Harrington who helps me with my speaking and inspired me to turn my passion into profit and showed me that there was a way to do that. A big nod to him and my speaking coach, Carol Fossey. The danger is when you start mentioning people, then I miss people out, and I don't want to do that. So, but friends and family first and foremost. Yeah.
Cool. What is the next thing, Mark? I know you're working on different platforms, but is there something where you can lift the curtain a bit and say there's something coming?
Yeah, I've always got a next project. I guess there's two things to talk about. One is I do a public-facing event called Lighting Your Spark, which is all about how to find your purpose. That's a one-day event at the moment. It's a breakthrough event. And that I will be extending to a 2-day and ultimately a 3-day event to incorporate a fire walk. I want to make that a lot more holistic. It's about finding the right people, but I've got some great people around me that do a lot of work around sort of nutrition and get back to energy. It's all centered around energy and yoga, and I want to really expand that experience. But right now, that is a one-day event called Lighting Your Spark. It's the favourite thing that I do, and I run those every 2 months. I run it at the Georgian House Hotel, very small, intimate, 10 people. It's a great day. I've definitely got a book in me, which is kind of on scraps and bits of paper, haven't we all? And then on the business side of things, I run, again, I do it like you, I do a lot on leadership, and I come from a place of sort of how to lead yourself. So that's very much my current thing. But I'm doing more and more in the emotional intelligence space. Some people don't believe you can teach, emotional intelligence or EQ. I believe you can. And I believe that some people have it more innate than others. I accept that. But it's not all about that. And I think that you can, it's one area that it's for me. So if there was one magic bullet in terms of business, and we've talked about purpose, emotional intelligence gets you a long way. EQ beats IQ every day of the week.
It's also called kindness, just
kindness,
understand other people's world and
your impact on others.
And what you do has impact more than just one circle around you. But I agree. It's like we talked about the Rubik's Cube last time. It's again solving the Rubik's Cube. You can train that if you really want. If you don't want, of course you can't learn it. Same like if you don't want to play football, you're never going to be good at playing football.
100%. So I think if you took a scale of -5 being zero emotional intelligence to +5, where it's just pouring out of you. Even if someone's a -3, maybe we can get them to a +2, which for a lot of companies could be transformational. A lot of people could be transformational. Yeah. I think it can get you a long way in life. And I think it's a massively, and there's not enough taught, even in schools. I do talks in schools right now, and I'm always, that's my free, that's not for profit, and I'm always thinking, how can I do more? And I think emotional intelligence is one area that's very unexplored, and maybe I'm the guy to do it.
I'm sure you are. In the end of the podcast, we always ask to give advice to leaders within the restaurant and hospitality industry. What would your one advice be if you could give one here? The silver bullet, as you call
the silver bullet. I always say I never give advice.
Inspiration then.
Inspiration, yeah. Be kind, always. Doing the right thing when doing the right thing is hard. But I really believe it. If you are thinking of others always in your thoughts and deeds, it's a great place to live from, to move from. And if I could leave you with something, it's just about, I go back to this point, everybody has a gift, everybody. And it doesn't have to be about changing the world or starting a business, but everybody has something. And when you can find that gift and use it, and I come back again to purpose, it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling. And so to be able to sort of live that, I just think is the ultimate. So I would, if I have to give one piece of advice, it would be do some work on yourself, spend some time, find your purpose. And if you can't do it on your own, find somebody to help you. And if you're not sure where to start, contact me and I'll put you in touch with someone. It's just the most amazing thing. And if we all did that, I think the world would be a better place.
I totally agree. Very good advice. Where can people find you if they thought, I want to check out this Mark guy? That sounds interesting.
Smashthebox.me is the website. So you can access everything there. Quotes, podcast. You can read a bit more about me if you want. So smashthebox.me. If you're more interested in the podcast, it's on iTunes. Just type Mark Pitcher Smash the Box into any social media channel. You'll find me. There's about 500 plus videos out there on YouTube and all the other usual channels. Yeah, that's pretty the best place to do it. If you want to email me, it's mark@smashthebox.me.
Great.
Or come to Chiswick Common at 6:30 a.m. in the morning and I'll be there. Out of breath.
Yeah. And then you can have a chat afterwards. Because then he's going to be in his performance high state from an energy point of view.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mark, thank you very much coming on the podcast and talking about your story, which is very powerful, and your purpose and all the other things we covered. I know we're going to be on a 4th date what that involves.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
see. Keep on being Maverick, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast. Thank you.
That's all we had time for today. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts and approaches on how to find your inner purpose and spark. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give us a like, review, share, or let us know what you think. Thanks to Let's Talk Video Production for your ongoing assistance making these podcasts happen. Tune in next time for another industry interview. In the meantime, find out more about us and sign up to our newsletter at hospitalitymavericks.com. Thanks for listening and be Maverick.